Hello and welcome to Watchin It episode 210. On today's episode, we got a return of a thing we've done, episode we've done before. Doing
a little Omeleto action.
We review some sorts, but this time got a special guest with us. We have with us Jayson Johnson. He is actually a director.
And a producer. And an actor.
A little bit of actor, we saw.
Yeah.
I was going to say, as normally, me and Robert will critique these shorts and we'll be like, why didn't they do this? What were they getting here? And we have no background. So Jayson is here to correct us if we're saying the wrong things because, we know nothing about this stuff. And but Jayson?
I like to think we know a little, but we're not in the biz. We don't have an IMDb page yet. As of this recording. Jayson, why don't you go ahead and tell the people who you are and what you do and where they can find you and things like that?
Sure. So my name is Jayson Johnson. I am a Bay Area filmmaker. I write, direct, and produce my films. I've made 9 short films, been in 80 film festivals, won 6 times. And I would say you guys are probably really good as far as your critiques. So, I wouldn't really downplay you on that.
Oh, someone who's a guest that's actually listened to the show. I see.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about some of your upcoming work. The Pruno one looks that sounds interesting to me.
Yeah. I have a lot of oddball ideas that I'd like to do, and just I just like telling different stories. So yeah, we'll see what comes up next.
All right. So I'm assuming you're familiar with the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
And I got told Donnell I had to get the first question because we got to get something out of the way here. What do you consider the greatest Best Picture Oscar winner, and why is it Amadeus?
I knew as soon as you started where this was going, Robert.
So it's interesting because I saw Amadeus and I think that's a fantastic film, but I don't know if I'm going to agree with you on that.
Robert.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
do you have a favorite Best Picture winner?
I actually don't. So I guess
fair enough. Well, I mean,
Amadeus.
it's an odd category because everybody thinks Best Picture, like the layman. Like your average day Joe would think like, okay, well, it's the one that made the most money that year, or it was the best just because it was really, really good or something like that. But it's really, you're just giving an award to the producers of the movie like you would the directors and things like that. So it's kind of, sometimes things win and you go, why did that win over that and whatnot. Donnell, do you have any thoughts on Amadeus being a Best Picture winner?
Yeah, I do. Well, I watched it.
Having seen it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I watched it.
You did watch it?
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted to see your face light up for a second so I could take that joy away.
This is a whole different podcast now. So, Jayson, I learned a month ago. We've been doing this podcast for a long time, me and Donnell, and we've covered the Oscar Best Picture nominees a couple of times. And I just recently learned that he's never seen the glorious film Amadeus. And I told him that he had to drop everything and watch it because it's a really amazing film. And he hasn't yet. So on a weekly basis, I will be chastising him on the podcast until he finally watches it. And then maybe we'll discuss it, maybe we won't. But I need to know that he's seen the movie because I reference it a lot when I talk about other things. Yeah, I was looking through your IMDb, and a lot of it was listed as being a line producer. I didn't know what a line producer was. And I'm like, oh, those are the worker bees. They're the ones actually getting it done. Can you tell us, give us an idea of like, what does a producer do? For our audience.
So producer is a really ambiguous term. It can mean a lot of different things. A producer could be like an associate producer is generally a producer that does like a lot of paperwork, permitting, can do kind of low level things for a production. And then when you move up to like a line producer, that's someone that's been given a portion of the budget that's below the line, and they manage the day-to-day of the film production. And that could be anything from your locations to your extras to your food to gas and kind of just like, serviceable things of that nature.
Making sure people get haircuts, things like that.
Yeah, sure. I guess so. And then, moving up beyond the line producer is, where it kind of gets really ambiguous. It's just the term producer. And that could be someone that has clout that they bring to a project, or an actor. Like, let's say that they're an actor that, brings in other actors, so they get a producer credit. Or a producer, just a general producer, could be kind of like the producer that manages the line producers. So it really gets really ambiguous, and it all kind of blends in together if you're not really attuned to what each person does.
Yeah. And then I know there's like the executive producer, but I've always heard that that's like, oh, that's somebody who brought in a lot of money.
Yeah, money, or just or like a name, So like, let's say, like Francis Ford Coppola comes to, sponsor the Watchin It podcast, you may consider giving him the executive producer credit or something like that.
Yeah.
That'll be the day, man. You can get somebody a producer credit on the podcast.
First question: how many family members can you have, and can you list them all? Because like, isn't Nicolas Cage? He's a Coppola, right?
Yeah,
everybody.
So let's see here. So there is Francis Ford Coppola, there's Sofia Coppola, Roman Coppola. I'll say Nicholas Coppola or Cage, his father, August Coppola, Christopher Coppola. And then it kind of gets a little weird when you get into the Schwartzman family, because, that started off with Talia Shire, who was Coppola's sister. And then she married into the Schwartzman family. So you have Jason Schwartzman. Let's see who else. I forgot about Gia Coppola as well. So I think that's about all the Coppola.
Better than I could have done.
Yeah,
That's better.
I could hit like 2, and I wouldn't have gotten Nicolas Cage. I didn't know that was going on. Talking about producers, just wanna throw back to last week where we talked about Arnon Mikal, the ex-Secret Service / assassin billionaire who became a producer. It just still blows my mind.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, we had another guest on. We covered the movie Brazil, and usually we like to talk about the cast and crew, directors, and usually we don't, no offense, usually we don't talk about the producers. But I clicked on this dude's name, and one is he has so many producing credits, and then also the top thing when you open up his Wikipedia is like Arnon Mikal is a Israeli billionaire businessman, film producer, and former spy. And you're like, hold up.
Do my movie. I know 12 ways to kill you.
Anyways,
I like how they just try to glance right over that.
Yeah, just kind of throw that in there. Mikal, film producer, a little bit directed, likes to, vacation in Hawaii, former spy, went to Russia a few times. Wait, what was that? What was that last part?
Yeah. Israeli spy too. He got to some. He did some things.
So, how did you get your start? Like,
I started by acting. I had an opportunity in college. I was in a film called Empire of Danger. I was cast as Siberian Guard number 2. And I did a lot of sword fighting and drinking wine out the bottle, and that was
nice.
That sounds like a good acting gig to me.
Yeah, and the film was based on Mars, but we filmed it in a forest, and this was a time when Mars was ruled by women, and men were like the sex subordinates. So yeah,
no, I like it already. This sounds like some good 80s B movie trash for sure. It's fantastic. I like your number 1 credit on IMDb, which is Guy on the Street Unaccredited, from a fantastic movie called Sorry to Bother You. I'm surprised that me and Donnell haven't talked about covering it, because it's a really crazy movie that would be right up our alley.
I worked on that film as crew. I was a guy that held the camera monitor for Boots Riley. And,
okay.
The producers said, "Hey, why don't you get into the frame?" I was wearing a yellow jacket and a red hat. So I made it into the film. I had like no desire to be in the film, but yeah, they grabbed me and put me in there. So
I'm gonna have to watch it again now and look for you in a yellow jacket with a red hat.
It's the part when he comes out of the bar, and you'll see me, and I have a lot of screen time. It was kind of interesting.
That's fun. That's fun.
So here's a question for you, because I've just always wondered this. I mean, I get you can't always get your filming location, but sometimes it just seems weird. I can't really remember what it was, but there was a movie or show I watched recently, and it was based in Seattle, where me and Robert are based out of. I'm like, all right, cool. And then it says, you look it up, and it's like filmed in Vancouver, BC. And I'm like, wow.
Oh yeah.
You're like, you're right here. Seattle's right. What, you couldn't, even if you're not in Seattle, you couldn't come into Washington and just film here. Like, it just seems so weird or random, the locations where it's like, oh, this movie is set in Egypt. I'm like, yeah, we're filming this in I don't know, the Philippines. You're like, why? So do you have any, like, can you share any of why that happens, or do you have any ideas?
Yeah, so in Vancouver is kind of like what they call Hollywood North. They have a lot of studios up there, and also there's a lot of tax breaks when you film in Canada.
I should mention Supernatural, filmed in Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of films, because it's really all about the tax breaks. In some locations will give you 30 to 40% off. So that's before you start filming. So, you really get a lot of incentive to, go to these filming destinations, because they'll really stress your budget with, the money that you're able to get back.
Atlanta's a really big one too, right?
Yeah, Atlanta is pretty big. I want to say that they've kind of changed their tax codes for film, so it's not as popular as it once was. I would say, it's a big up and coming film location is Louisiana, of all places.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I find that very surprising.
Yeah, 50 Cent is actually building a big studio in Shreveport.
So, man, that's gonna. Yeah, when he gets that done, that is going to be a whole new like renaissance of film.
Yeah,
for sure.
So
that's 50 Cent putting out some. I bet that studio is going to put out some really interesting stuff.
Yeah,
they're working on the Puff Daddy,
the Puff Daddy story. That's
someone right now is writing the Kendrick Lamar Drake movie right now. Man.
So yeah, you've done done some producing, done some a little bit of acting, some directing, done some small shorts. But I remember we've talked, and you were telling me that you're geared up for like your first like feature film. And so can you talk about that at all, or that is all under wraps?
No, it's I've written probably about 4 or 5 films, and I have them all at different price points, depending on what I can get funding for. So I guess, I can just be really general about it. I have a film about gambling and wine and Asian gangsters and, counterfeiting, and how that all kind of comes together. And that's probably like my most least expensive film that I could do. I think I can do it for probably $100,000.
Yeah.
And then, I have a film about the tech industry and, where kind of like a blue collar meets tech collar San Francisco. And that's called Rodgers.
I like that idea.
Yeah. So, I think I can do that for $1 million. And then, and, we can just keep going up the ladder. So,
I mean, if you need some background guys in your tech movie, me and I'll both work in the tech industry.
I'm not ready to join SAG yet.
Authenticity to the film.
do you have your SAG card?
I do not have my SAG card. No.
I mean, it's hard to get for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you so as far as budgeting, that sounds like a high dollar amount to me. I mean, I'm sure you can nickel and dime through a production pretty easy. But what do you think of like? And I know it's 20 years since, like a $5,000 budget that like Primer had. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that film.
I haven't seen that film, but I've seen a lot of like really micro budget film projects, and I'm getting these numbers off of more experienced producers than I am, and they're saying, look, a film production company that if you're going to go to VOD like a Netflix or any type of streaming network, they really don't want to have projects like that, because you can really tell the quality of a $10,000 film project.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean Primer, and I definitely suggest you check it out if you're into sci-fi and time travel at all. It may be the greatest time travel movie ever made.
Insane.
Roger Ebert gave it screaming reviews, and maybe that's why it ended up on streaming, even though it had a low budget. And it does feel like a low budget movie. The writing and the story and what they did with that budget was just so phenomenal that it worked. And I don't think that would work for a lot of stories for sure. How do you go about like getting that money? Do you just call friends and family and say, hey, I got this project, I want to do this? Or do you have, go to contacts in the industry, or do you go to a bank and say, hey, I want to make a film project. Here's what my expected return is. Can I get a loan? Like,
so X out the family.
Oh, you're not a Ferengi, like rule of acquisition 34. It's like you treat family like customers, exploit them. Like,
yeah. I did a Kickstarter campaign, and
there we go. I didn't even think of that.
Members, and I was just like, I need $20,000. Can I just get $10? No. Can I get $8? No. Can I get $2? Man, if you don't quit calling me, so oh yeah, family's a no.
You can't get $2 from a cousin. It's like, I don't know if you're getting invited to the reunion.
You're not going to be at the premiere.
I'll give you an executive producer credit for $2.
But no, I've been doing a lot of pitch sessions. So, I luckily know some investors that actually work in the tech industry. And, so I've done a couple of those.
Yeah, because you're on Sam Brand. Okay.
Yeah. So I go to a lot of those. And then, there's organizations like the Inclusivity Project that I just learned today that, sets up meetings for investors as well. So, it's basically going to a lot of investor meetings, and, you'll see what starting amount you can get. And then from there, you just kind of hack away at it. So
okay,
I have some in the tank, but I still have to continue going for it.
Yeah, I'm assuming like once you get like a certain percentage, like it's easier to get that ball starts rolling faster. Is there any kind of like grants or anything that you get from like maybe government or any kind of like institutions that I mean, you just mentioned that inclusion one, but any other interesting ones that like if somebody was interested into getting funding for a movie idea they have, like where would they start?
So yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So there are a lot of film foundations. There's like the Berkeley Film Foundation. There's SF Film, and I'm sure there's lots of these across the nation. But they'll offer what's called finishing funds. So like as soon as you have your film in the can, so to speak, then they'll offer you funding for editing, for ADR if you have to do it, things of that nature. So that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Makes sense. All right. That's pretty cool. Well, we got you on here for your expertise. So I think we're going to take ourselves a quick break. But when we get back, we're going to talk about a couple short films that we watched and kind of pick your mind about them and see what you're thinking.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back.
And we're back. All right. I gotta laugh like that, Donnell. You need to give me like a cue or a countdown or something. Come on.
And go. And then you just stared at me and I'm like, doing it.
You're embarrassing me in front of the director, okay? All right, so we picked two YouTube shorts here. Jason picked one, and then Donnell picked one. We're gonna start with Jason's here. If you want to look this up on YouTube and watch it, it's a short, like 7-minute video called Jay and Mark Duplass. This is John from 2003. This was a fantastic pick, Jason. What led you to pick this one? It's an interesting one, yeah.
So, yeah, I saw this, and I go to Sundance quite a bit, and I saw this film, and I was really shocked by how this film got in, because if you look at it, it's not high production value. The audio is not great. The screen, the video quality is shaky at best, but the concept is fantastic. So this short actually launched the careers of the Duplass brothers. So I was just really inspired by how just one short could really be the genesis of a career, and launch out two pretty successful Hollywood mainstays, as we know.
I'm critical of the Mindy project for sure, for several reasons. But Mark Duplass has a great role in that and does a fantastic job. This short, which we're about to go into more detail on, it really almost kind of felt like, oh, this is a reel. that you're gonna send around and be like, hey, because he goes through so many emotional stages throughout it. Like this is him trying to like show his range, of something ridiculous for sure.
So for me, it was a little coming into this because I've seen some of Mark's other stuff. So I watched this whole thing waiting for the twisted twist show up.
Absolutely.
Like just like when it comes to Mark and Jayson, like I mean, I think of like Creep and Creep 2. I think of some of their other movies where it's always just everything is slightly off kilter and there's always something to it. So I watched this a couple times, probably like 3 times. But my first time watching it, I was just sitting there like, okay, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And it never did because, like you said, that's not the point of this one. But it was hard for me coming into that first because I was like, no, this is Mark.
We watched too much Omeleto, Donnell.
I was just
we're waiting for the twist all the time.
Well, my big thing was like I said, this is John, and he's rehearsing that. And my thing is, I thought they were going to reveal like he's not actually John. Like there's going to be like a dead body in the corner.
No,
he's
absolutely,
he's John the whole time. And so I was waiting for it.
I was like, this guy murdered John.
Yeah.
And is trying to record over a message like during the I thought I was gonna get a flashback of them struggling as like the main character killed John, but somehow he triggered the message machine, so it recorded like the murder. So he's like, I gotta re-record the exact same message that John had left from memory, and he's just trying to get it right. And he's drinking and he's post homicidal depression. I was like, oh man, when's the other shoe gonna drop? I'm right there with you, Donnell.
Yeah,
that's amazing. I would have never thought.
Too many weird things, Jayson.
Weird things, and just from watching stuff from Mark and Jay, I'm just like, come on, guys, this is what you do. But no, actually, this is actually coming from a totally different angle. And so let's just jump into it. It's about 7 minutes, and it's just starring Mark. You got nobody else.
Yep.
The whole time. I think he masterfully handles it, being the sole person on screen. But yeah, it's just him coming home and. That's the only thing that was kind of weird to me. Is like, so you come home, like the first thing you do is like, I gotta record the voice now. It just was like weird.
Yeah,
like,
this is weird. Like when this was recorded in 2003, I'm like, were we still using these old recording devices in 2003?
You're probably.
This is like we had one of these in like the early 90s at my house.
I think 2003. I'd say we were in a transitional phase where some people had answer machines and some people had moved on to voicemail. Like. My family, we hung on to answer machines way long. We hung on to everything way longer. Everybody else was getting DSL and cable. My mom still had AOL and dial-up. Like that was the house I lived into. So we hung on to old technology way longer than we should have.
Do you know that in the South there's a lot of DVD sales that people still hang on to the DVDs, and that's
crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
that's crazy. So do you think this apartment, well, I don't know if this was a house or apartment, do you think it was his, or do you think there's no way they set up this set? It's too perfect. This is a 20-year-old ass dude's apartment. It's got like the fold out white gray table and like a folding chair up against the wall. Like this is just some working dude in his 20s. Like he's probably got a box for a coffee table. Like I was there, we've all been there, there's no hate there. Okay, like when you're 20, 22, 23, if you got a box for a coffee table, you're just getting started, no hate. Okay, if you got a 50-inch screen TV and a box for a coffee table, I understand completely. Priorities, baby.
So yeah, there's not much to go on of what actually happens, but I think it's the concept that really comes in, because basically it's just him coming home to record his voicemail. And I mean, you can even see it as he goes through it. He's just trying over and over just to get it just right. And when he first started,
the early days of the Watchin It podcast, trying to start a show.
hey, That still happens even these days. Every once in a while,
definitely. Sometimes, once Jason, once we get started, we're off to the races. But there'll be times when it's like we're gonna do 20 takes to get the intro right. Like,
yeah.
But
I question this character because I'm just like, John, just say you know what to do. Done. Move on. Work your way through the bottle of wine and collection of other liquors that you have.
That would be just too easy, though, So it's just like, I think he's a perfectionist in many ways, and he wants to get out that perfect message. And I think we've all been there back in the in the answer machine days.
I mean, even with the voicemail days, I've gone through for my business phone, I've gone through a few iterations.
And the thing I think is that he's also like I said, I think you hit it. Like, he's a little bit of a perfectionist, and also I feel like he has some anxiety just about it, like how people view him. Because like when he first starts, he seems pretty like nonchalant, kind of confident. But as he keeps making mistakes, as he sees it, or not getting it right, the more into it you get, the more he sounds like just stressed and frazzled. It's just like, why I can't hit it, I can't get it right. But I do like the ending where finally he just kind of like Robert says, he's like, you know what? I'm just doing it. I'm just going to do it. And he just puts it out there and like, done, save, we're done. I was like, he kind of comes to terms, like his anxiety keeps building, but then eventually he's just like, no, that's enough. And he just kind of lays it out and gets that message just right. And when it ended, like I said, once again, I was like, it's good and I like it. But the first time I watched it, I was like, that was it. Because I was like, where's the dead body?
I'm with you. I like the final message that he left. It's like, it's perfect. I love when he just all of a sudden shows up with sunglasses on.
I mean, that's another thing that we all can admit that you know, to feel cooler, you put on your sunglasses before being like, all right, no, I gotta get this just right, get the sunglasses on, even though no one can see me. They affect, they change the voice a little bit. You get a little bit more bass in there. But yeah, it was interesting. Like I said, this was 2003. Before you said this is the catalyst that kind of launched them. And yeah, I mean, I was just looking, when you look at the their IMDb and their Wikipedia and stuff, like, yeah, this is before they had done really anything. And so it's interesting just to get to see like this, just them. Like you said, this is very raw. It seemed, like you said, most time you're like, oh, this is before they like send it off somewhere for them to clean it all up and all that sort of thing. But like, yeah, it's very raw. It is very just like basic, but it also just shows that the skill that you can have of being able to tell this story without all the glitz and glamour and CGI.
It's raw. It's raw.
Yeah, I wish I would have thought of it. Damn it.
All right, let's talk about the next one.
Yes.
This is from the Omeleto channel, which we've discussed before. We covered a couple of their shorts before. This is the video IO from. Oh, is it OI? Yeah. I'm my dyslexic ass person.
Say OI stand for original idea.
Oh, I was thinking like IO, where it was like something. Because when I watched it, I'm like, what is this gonna have? What does this have to do with turning a computer on and off? OI for original idea. Fine. From 2022, so a more recent one. What'd you think of this one, Jason?
I'll say I really liked it. I didn't really.
It's a little gruesome, more gruesome than the normal like Omeleto stuff.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it, because it's just like, I appreciate that, in the film, this guy has an idea, and it's such a mind-blowing idea that people's heads literally explode. And I almost wish that they said what the idea was. So,
but you can't, right? Because it's going to be disappointing no matter what, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things of like how with a lot of horror movies, the monster is way scarier before you see him. Like, you just like the unknown. And then kind of the same thing. If they would have put an idea like, and this is his idea, it would have kind of been like, oh, okay. Because like that's the whole point is this. So like I said, it's called OI. It's called OI for original idea. And basically is the character in it has the world like, because I think it's like everything's been done, people will say. And so like this guy has had the world first in a long time, like truly original idea. No one else has come up with it. And it's so original because we're so not used to hearing original ideas that if your mind isn't capable of taking in an original idea, your head just blows up.
Yeah.
It's just too much for your brain to take on. And so,
yeah. I mean, we don't have to go like scene by scene through this one. It's basically a guy's like having a good day. He walks into a bar that he hasn't been into for a long time. I'm still wondering what happens when his friend that he invited to the bar shows up. Right? Because he invited it. He was like, "Hey, you got to come see me at this bar." Yeah. And I'm like, he's gonna get there finding a not cool scene going on, right? And he's just celebrating, and then he sees another guy at the end of the bar who's sulking, right? And he's like, "Oh, this guy's been coming in here every day and just drinking himself to death, from open to close." And he goes over and asks him, and the guy's like, "Hey, well, I've just had a bad time recently." And he's like, I think I can fix your problem. Just tell me about it. And he starts to tell him his story. And like you said, he comes up with this original idea in his sleep. And I like the way he talks about it, where he's like, "Oh, I woke up and it felt like my head was going to explode. And then I had this, but it didn't." And then he the idea convalesced, and he tells it to his wife, and her head explodes.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole series of like him talking to the cops, causing their heads to explode. And then the CIA comes in. And I'm like, they have him like, they use him to like, I guess, kill like prisoners and like test them out and stuff. I'm like, and then they eventually let him go. I need to know more about like how he got loose.
Yeah.
Because the CIA never lets this guy's black box into Area 51 forever.
No, if you have this capability, whether it's original idea or anything else, that can just blow up people's heads just by you saying it, there's no way you will be walking down any street anytime soon. Like you are under lock and key. They probably got you fitted with a gag most of the time because
they got you in a soundproof room. And then, like, nobody walks in unless they've got headphones on blasting, like, death metal.
Earplug with those on. But yeah, so basically he's telling this story, and this guy he is having the best day. Apparently some business thing went well. He's got a bunch of money now. Having the best day. Well, then he's just like, well, you got to tell me this idea now. And this guy he's just basically saying, like, no, I can't, it will kill you. And the guy's like, well, no, I don't believe you. Tell me the idea. They kind of go back and forth. One of the things I really like is when finally they agree, okay, like, I'm going to tell you the idea. And he's like, well, the bartender, he should probably go.
Yeah.
Because, don't want him to die. And the bartender's like, well, no, I've heard most of this conversation. I'm in too. And it's just like,
I always thought this whole thing, I'm like, this poor bartender, he's just trying to set up for the day.
Mm-hmm.
He's used to the sulking guy in the corner.
Yeah.
Right. Who's just drinking. He's being quiet. But then you got this like asshole coming in at like 11 o'clock in the morning, just causing a ruckus. And he's just trying to set things up. I'm like, this guy, this bartender doesn't need this shit right now.
He does not, and definitely gets worse for him. So to kind of culminate the story, finally, the guy agrees, or like, all right, I'll tell you guys. And he tells him the idea, and the bartender's head explodes. But the guy who's having a good day, like, he's okay. I mean, his head seems to have hurt, but he's okay. He heard the idea, and he's all right. His head doesn't explode.
He's immune.
And I really like the actor who's playing the sad sulking dudes, his response to it, just being like, he's basically been isolated from everybody ever since he had this idea, and it's being like suddenly he's just overjoyed, like, oh my gosh, someone else who can help me understand this idea, and someone else who, like, he to me is like, we got to figure out how we can share it, but like without killing people and stuff. But then I also like the guy who was having a good day up until now, his response of just being like, I can't believe you just told me that. Like, you knew it could kill someone. You knew it could kill me. And the fact that you would just tell me, like, what is wrong with you? And he just basically calls the guy out because, like, I can't, like, you are a dangerous individual. And the fact that you could be worn down to telling people something that can just kill them is insane. And then also he takes the coward's way out, but also maybe not the coward's way out.
Uses the literal Chekhov's gun.
Yeah. To remove himself from the equation because he doesn't want to live in this world where he has this idea that, by all accounts, like both of them seem to make it clear, this idea is like the best thing ever.
That's an important aspect of it because it's not just some idea that's original. It's like the answer to life, the universe, and everything, apparently.
Yes.
I have a question for you guys. If you did not know that your head would explode, would you want to hear the idea?
So this is like picking up the wand from Bright. Like, do you want to know that you have magic? So let's talk about, like, I need the sequel to this, right? Because because now our main character guy, not the sulking guy, he's not sulking anymore. He's excited because now he knows that some people are immune.
Some people are.
So he's like, I mean, he's already starting to talk about it. He's like, okay, we got to do some testing. We got to figure out what makes people immune.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get this going. No, this guy is going to be the Messiah.
That's what I'm saying.
He's going to run around. I don't have a choice whether I get to hear it or not. He's going to start telling it to everybody. And some percentage of the population is going to be immune. And then they're going to start telling it. There's going to be a culling.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It's like you're either in on utopian idea or you're not in on utopian idea.
That's what I was going to say. Is like the sequel to this movie is about the war between the chosen people and the rest of society, and then also like people, like you said, the rest of society doesn't know they could be chosen, but you'd have to hear the idea. And so, like, this. I mean, this is already a pretty dark sort of just this guy with this idea. But I'm just like, the sequel to this is just a post-apocalyptic hellscape where the last surviving normal people are trying to hold out against the chosen one's prophets as they come to spew the original idea that maybe you'll be saved, but most likely you're gonna it's just that.
So in universe, I don't think I have a choice. Not in universe, if I know that there's a possibility my head could explode and a high probability, no, I'm running away.
Yeah, I
can live my life. I can drink enough to forget that that's a thing going on until it comes for me.
I'm on team ignorance all the way.
I'm not. I don't have self-inflation enough to think, oh, I'll be the one that has the level 10 intellect that's going to be able to handle it. Like I don't know, man. I don't know.
What about you, Jason? You listening? You hearing the idea?
No, I'm as soon as it gives me the disclaimer, I'm gonna say no.
Well, okay, so that's the question: is do you believe the disclaimer without evidence?
That's the hardest part.
Because without evidence, I'm like, okay, just tell me. Like that, you're just like, ha 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 ha. This is some random guy at a bar. If I know it's gonna it could happen, I'm like, okay, walk away. But if you don't know what happened, maybe I'm going to be like, okay, dude. I mean, I've had a couple of shots of tequila. Tell me.
I'm about to say, I think setting weighs in because, definitely if I'm in the bar and there's no evidence, I'm like, this is just some dumb drug story. So, I'm all in. But, different locations, different responses, whether I hear it or not. But if I don't hear it in those scenarios, it's not because I believe them. It's just because I'm like, I ain't got time for this. You crazy. I ain't got time for his lunacy. Yeah. Like I said, I like this one along with other Omeleto, like especially this one, because it just presents a very interesting, like, kind of thought experiment of, like I said, playing this out to its end. Like I said, there's no way I see, unless, someone kills him, like, there's no way I see our protagonist, I guess, not ending up, like Robert said, in some sort of Messiah complex. Like, the idea is the best idea ever. Like, everyone who has it's we only have two people.
Not just original idea, but an amazing idea.
Like, we only have two people to go off of, but still, even all the people whose head blows up, it seems like before their head blows up, they're pretty much in awe of this idea. So this idea is the best thing ever. And if you have the best thing ever, how long before you're like, well, in order to bring utopia to Earth. We're gonna have to crack some eggs to make this cake.
See, I want to know things like, can you record it and then broadcast it, or write it down and have people read it? And I mean, it's got to work that way, right? Because you just have to convey the idea.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be like told to somebody.
Yeah, I feel any way that this idea, because it's the idea getting in your head is what does you in. So yeah, I think any way.
I don't understand again how the CIA let him go or didn't just off him immediately.
Yeah.
You can't have a loose cannon like this just wandering around the streets.
I kind of feel the CIA would use him as like a weapon of sorts, you know.
Yeah.
You know, have him go and talk to, you know, someone that they want to take out, and it starts off innocent, and then, you know, before you know it, their head explodes. So
yeah.
I mean, yes, that's the thing is, like, I kind of, like I said, this guy's in a black site somewhere, but also actually I think he's not 100% dead if the CIA got a hold of him, because like you said, I think they would want to use it as a weapon, but like we were saying, I don't think he has to be the one to tell you.
I mean, it's not a very conventional weapon, you know. I mean,
but it's also unexpected. Like, it's
also clean. Like, you don't really leave.
There's no evidence.
You don't leave like a bullet casing or anything behind.
You know, let's just say you have an enemy. You could just mail them a letter with this.
Well, I mean, at that point, you don't need him. The test
exactly. That's why he's dead. That's why I don't. Yeah,
you're at the CIA. You say, okay, write it down as a test. Show it to this death row inmate. Their head explodes, and you go, okay, we don't need this guy anymore. Cap. And then you just, like, anytime you want to take out a foreign dictator or something, you just mail it to him. And just like, you don't have anybody, you just make a photocopy. Nobody gets to look at it. You just know that if you photocopy this letter and mail it to someone, like, this is a good M. Night Shyamalan or like The Ring type movie. There's so many possibilities to this concept. I love it.
Yeah.
What a good I have to say, the production value was fantastic on this film.
Yeah. Too. And that's a lot with a lot of the stuff on the Omeleto channel. Is it's just really high quality. Yeah.
I love their use of the Zolly in this film when the people heard the idea, the zoom in and dolly at the same time. Yeah, it's really fantastic. Very well done. I remember the lighting at the bar when they first came in, fantastically done. So fantastic.
Yeah, we should mention starring Ben Cotton, who was in Stargate Atlantis, also Chronicles of Riddick, and a number of Slither and a number of other things that you would notice, as well as I'm gonna get his name wrong because I can't say it. Burkett Turton. Am I saying that right? Is the other main guy?
That doesn't sound wrong. No, I think that works.
Yeah, he was in Blade Trinity.
Oh wow.
Okay. So,
and a movie called Roller Coaster.
No supernatural connection though.
He was in 2 episodes of Supernatural, sir. He was also in 1 episode of The Magicians.
So Jayson, Robert is a huge fan of the Supernatural. Has watched all of it.
Which Donnell has not seen yet.
Wants me to watch it. It's just so much. But we have this thing where almost anything we cover, we're like, is it a supernatural connection? And I'd say probably at least 80% of the time, he's like, yep, this guy was in 1 episode for 5 seconds.
Look, there were 15 seasons of 24 episodes, okay? It's like, there's a chance.
A degree of separation, yeah.
All right, fantastic. All right, well, Jayson, you want to plug your links to things and tell people where they can find you and how they can contact you or how they can donate to your projects, things like that.
Yeah, sure. So you can find me with a Google search. My name is Jayson Johnson. Jayson is spelled Jayson at Johnson, and you could probably improve that search by including Filmmaker on there. And then all my links will pop up. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I have my portfolio page, and I have a Strike 5 film store. So if you're checking out my store, please buy a hat. That all goes towards, helping us to make movies and just helping my livelihood. So any support is appreciated. I thank you in advance.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. This was super fun. We have to have you on again.
Ask one more question because I just remembered this because like I said, I watched a couple of your short films, and I was just wondering about the actors in it, because I noticed I think there's one where the guy, I can't remember. I just remember he ends up meeting a neo-Nazi and stuff, and that neo-Nazi guy was the same as the gambler guy. So like, do you have like just like a group of actors that you work with regularly, or do you have, or is this coincidental that, you know, the same people? Or
sometimes, so like you have actors that, you know, they do a great job and you have a good rapport with them, so you know, they always ask you what's next, you know, do you have anything else? And if it works out, then yeah, I'll work out with that actor, you know, just based off of their range and what they can do and just the rapport that we have. So I have had a couple of opportunities where, you know, I've had an actor on a couple of my projects, just because, you know, good actors are hard to find, and you want to make sure they reward actors that, you know, you get along with and their talents as well.
Yeah. Makes sense. Sorry to ruin the flow of the ending there, Robert.
No, fair enough. As always, you can find us on our website, watchinitpod.com. There you can find links to our Instagram and other social media, and to email us, watchinitpodcast@gmail.com. Donnell, what else should they do?
Well, folks, you need to prepare yourself, sit down for our next episode, because we're finally going to do what we've been watching, and Robert's going to have a lot for you.
Oh, yeah. It's anime time.
Robert, if you're not into anime, you might want to move to the next episode.
We're going to be talking apocalypse. We're going to be talking about reincarnated in other worlds. We're going to be talking about idols and reincarnation as idols. It's going to go some weird places and some sad places and some fun places.
Everybody, Robert's become a weeb in the time.
I've started looking up how to read Japanese because I can't wait for the translations. Oh, yeah.
Didn't you tell me that you were like at work and you picked up a book and opened it and you started reading from right to
Somebody
left?
handed me a piece of paper to read, and I started from the right to read to the left. And it took me a second to switch gears, and that's happened a couple of times now.
So yeah,
I'm immersed.
We're going to do what we've been watching, but let's be honest, it's going to be a what Robert's been watching. I've watched a few things.
But let me do an anime special.
But yeah, it's going to be the anime special. I've watched a little anime, so I'll throw in but all of it's
What's sad is I'm only going to get through like maybe like 6 to 8 of like the 50 that I've watched.
Anyways, be looking forward to that. Jayson, thank you so much for joining us. It was fun. And thanks so much for listening. Bye.